Everyone in the restaurant knew one rule that night. Do not go near table 17. Because the man sitting there didn't just order food, he ended careers. Managers disappeared. Waiters looked away. Even the bold ones froze. But one exhausted waitress, too tired to care and too kind to ignore a customer, walked straight toward him, not knowing that simple act would pull her into a world she was never meant to enter, and change both their lives forever. The cold cut through downtown Chicago like a blade that night, sharp and quiet, slipping between the tall glass buildings and settling into the narrow streets below. Inside the restaurant, though, it was warm. Soft amber light spilled from overhead fixtures, reflecting off polished silverware and crystal glasses. The low hum of conversation blended with the faint clink of plates and the distant sizzle from the kitchen. Naomi Carter moved through it all like a shadow that had learned to carry trays. Her feet ached. Not the kind of ache that came and went, but the deep, dull kind that lived in her bones. She had been on her feet since before sunrise, first at the diner on the south side, then cleaning offices, and now here, in a place where a single steak cost more than her weekly groceries. She adjusted the tray on her palm and stepped between tables, her smile practiced, her movements precise. The kind of precision that came from years of knowing that mistakes cost more than just embarrassment. "Table 9 needs water," someone whispered as they rushed past. Naomi nodded without looking. She already knew. Everything in the room felt normal, busy, expensive, controlled, until it didn't. It started with silence. Not all at once, not loud enough for customers to notice. Just small things. A conversation cut short. A laugh that didn't come back. A waiter who suddenly stopped mid-step and turned the other way. Naomi slowed near the service station, sensing it the way you sense a storm before the rain. Something had shifted. She followed the direction of the tension without meaning to, her eyes landing on table 17 near the window. A man sat there alone. He wasn't doing anything unusual. No raised voice, no dramatic entrance. Just sitting, hands folded. Still. Too still. The kind of stillness that made the air around him feel heavier. He wore a black suit that looked like it had never been wrinkled in its life. Not flashy, not loud, just precise. Like everything about him had been measured and decided long before he walked in. No one approached him. Not the hostess who had seated him. Not the senior servers who usually fought over high-value tables. Not even Marcus, who would normally chase down any customer who looked like they tipped well. Instead, people moved around him, carefully, quietly, like he was a piece of furniture that could explode. Naomi watched as Sarah, one of the most experienced servers on the floor, picked up menus, then froze when she realized which table she'd been assigned. Her face drained of color. She set the menus down and turned away without a word. "What's going on?" Naomi asked softly as Marcus appeared beside her, aggressively polishing an already spotless glass. Marcus didn't answer right away. He kept polishing, harder. Then, under his breath, "Stay away from that table." Naomi glanced back at the man by the window. "Why?" Marcus finally looked at her, and for the first time since she'd known him, he didn't look like himself. There was something tight in his expression. Something close to fear. "That's Darius Cole." The name meant nothing to her. She waited. Marcus leaned closer, lowering his voice even more. "Owner, CEO, everything. He shows up, people get fired, sometimes before they finish dessert." Naomi blinked. "That's ridiculous. Last month he shut down a whole location because someone messed up a wine order." Marcus's jaw tightened. 3 managers gone in a day. No warning. Naomi looked back at the man. He still hadn't moved. Still hadn't even picked up the menu. Just sitting there like he had all the time in the world. and everyone else's time belonged to him. "So, nobody's going to serve him?" she asked. Marcus let out a dry, humorless laugh. "You want to be the one who does?" Naomi didn't answer right away. She watched as another server walked past table 17, eyes fixed straight ahead like the man didn't exist. The tension in the room kept building, invisible but thick, like pressure before a storm. Somewhere behind her, a manager muttered something into a headset. Someone else dropped a fork and flinched at the sound. All of this, for one man sitting quietly at a table. Naomi shifted her weight. Her back hurt. Her feet hurt. Her bank account had $43 in it, and rent was due in 9 days. Fear didn't change any of that. She picked up a menu. "Naomi," Marcus started, but she was already moving. Each step toward table 17 felt louder than it should have. She could feel eyes following her, servers, kitchen staff, even a few customers sensing something was off. The closer she got, the quieter everything seemed. The man didn't look up until she reached the table. Up close, he looked different. Not just powerful, not just intimidating, tired. There were faint shadows under his eyes, lines at the corners that didn't match his age, the kind of wear you couldn't hide with money. For a second, something in Naomi softened. Then she placed the menu down gently in front of him and poured water into his glass, her hands steady. "Good evening," she said, her voice calm, warm, familiar. "My name's Naomi. I'll be taking care of you tonight." The man looked up. His eyes locked onto hers, sharp and searching, like he was trying to figure something out. Around them, the entire restaurant seemed to hold its breath. He studied her face, no, not just her face, her posture, her voice, her lack of hesitation. Something flickered in his expression. Not anger, not approval. Something closer to surprise. "Water," he said quietly. "No ice." Naomi nodded. "Of course." She adjusted the glass without rushing, without overthinking, just doing what she'd done 1,000 times before. "You can take your time with the menu," she added. "I'll come back when you're ready." She turned to leave. "Wait." She paused and looked back. He was still watching her. "You don't know who I am," he said. It wasn't a question. Naomi met his gaze, steady and unshaken. "I know you're a customer," she replied simply, "and you look like you haven't been taken care of yet." For a moment, neither of them moved. The air between them felt different now. Not tense, not afraid, just real. Something shifted in his eyes, subtle, almost invisible, but there. Naomi gave a small nod and stepped away, blending back into the rhythm of the restaurant as if nothing had happened. Behind her, the silence broke. Voices returned. Plates clinked again. The world kept moving, but not quite the same. Because at table 17, a man who had been avoided by everyone was now watching the one person who hadn't walked away. And for the first time that night, he wasn't alone. Naomi didn't look back as she walked away from table 17. Not because she wasn't curious, not because she didn't feel the weight of his gaze following her across the room, but because if she had learned anything in 12 years of working service jobs, it was this. Once you start treating someone differently, they start expecting it. And she couldn't afford expectations. She slipped back into her rhythm, picking up a tray at the service station, her fingers moving automatically as she checked orders, refilled drinks, nodded at passing coworkers. Everything around her had changed. Everything except her. Marcus grabbed her arm the second she stepped behind the divider near the kitchen. "Are you out of your mind?" he hissed, his voice tight with panic. Naomi pulled her arm free gently. What? What do you mean, what? He ran a hand through his hair, eyes darting toward the dining room. You just walked up to him like he's nobody. Naomi shrugged, reaching for a coffee pot. He's somebody sitting at a table. That's not the same thing, Marcus snapped. She glanced at him, calm but firm. Then what is he? Marcus opened his mouth, then closed it again. Because there wasn't a good answer. From across the room, the floor manager, Gerald, appeared like a man who had just remembered something terrible. Naomi, he called sharply. She turned, already knowing this wasn't going to be good. Gerald pulled her aside, just far enough that customers couldn't hear, but close enough that everyone else could watch. His face was pale, not annoyed, not frustrated, afraid. What did he say? Gerald asked. He asked for water. No ice. That's it? Gerald's voice cracked. He didn't mention anything. About the service, about the staff, about... He ordered water, Naomi repeated, her tone steady. And I told him I'd come back for his order. Gerald stared at her like she had just spoken a foreign language. You don't understand, he said, lowering his voice even more. People don't just talk to him like that. Naomi frowned slightly. Like what? Normal, Gerald snapped, then immediately glanced toward table 17 like the word itself might cause damage. You're supposed to be careful, precise, no mistakes, no attitude. Naomi let out a quiet breath. I didn't have an attitude, she said. I did my job. Gerald shook his head slowly, like she was missing something obvious. No, he muttered. You did something else. Before she could respond, a bell rang from the kitchen. Table 12 needs their check, someone called. And 9 wants dessert menus, another voice added. The restaurant was pulling her back in. Naomi picked up a stack of menus, already turning away. I'll handle it. Naomi, Gerald said again, more urgent this time. She paused, looking at him over her shoulder. If anything goes wrong, he said carefully, this is on you. For a second, something flickered in her chest. Not fear. Something older. Something heavier. The memory of being told the same thing in a dozen different ways, in a dozen different places. If something goes wrong, it's on you. Always. She nodded once. Got it, and walked away. The rest of the floor felt different now. Customers were still talking, still eating, still laughing. But underneath it, there was tension. The kind that didn't belong to them, but still found a way to fill the room. Naomi moved from table to table, checking in, refilling drinks, writing down orders. But every few minutes, her eyes drifted back to table 17. He hadn't moved much, still sitting straight, still watching everything without seeming to look at anything. Waiting. Finally, when her section settled for a moment, Naomi picked up a notepad and headed back. The walk felt shorter this time, or maybe she just didn't care as much. Ready to order? She asked, her voice the same as before, steady, polite, unshaken. Darius Cole looked up again. This time his expression was different, less distant, more focused. You came back, he said. Naomi tilted her head slightly. I said I would. Most people didn't keep their word around him. That much was clear in the brief pause that followed. He picked up the menu, though it was obvious he hadn't been reading it. Ribeye, he said. Medium rare. Any sides? No. She nodded, writing it down. Anything to drink besides water? He studied her again, like he was trying to find the crack, the hesitation, the moment she would realize who he was and change. But it didn't come. No, he said finally. All right, Naomi replied. I'll put that in. She turned slightly. Naomi. She stopped. It caught her off guard. Not the fact that he said her name, but how easily he said it, like it belonged in the conversation. She looked back. How long have you worked here? He asked. 3 months? You're new? She shrugged lightly. Depends who you ask. A faint shift in his expression, almost like amusement, but not quite. You don't seem nervous, he said. Naomi met his eyes. I've been nervous before, she answered. This isn't it. Something in the air changed again. Not softer, not lighter, just clearer. He leaned back slightly in his chair, studying her in a different way now. Not like an object, not like a threat, like a question he hadn't expected to ask. Why not? He said quietly. Naomi hesitated for the first time. Not because she was afraid of the answer, because she knew it would sound simple, too simple for someone like him. Because you're just a man trying to eat dinner, she said, and I'm just doing my job. The words hung there, simple, unpolished, honest. For a second, she thought she might have said the wrong thing. Then something flickered in his eyes again. This time she recognized it. It wasn't anger, it wasn't control, it was something much rarer, recognition. He looked down at the table, then back at her, and for the briefest moment, the weight he carried, whatever it was, seemed to shift. Bring the steak, he said. Naomi nodded. Of course. She walked away again, but this time the room didn't feel as heavy. Behind her, Marcus was staring like he had just witnessed something impossible. Gerald stood frozen near the kitchen entrance. Even Sarah had stopped pretending not to watch. Naomi ignored all of them. She placed the order, grabbed the next tray, and kept moving. Because she didn't know who Darius Cole really was, didn't know what he could do, didn't know what kind of storm had just walked into her shift. All she knew was this. She had treated him like a human being, and for some reason, that seemed to matter more than anything else in the room. But what Naomi didn't see was the way Darius Cole kept watching her long after she left the table. Not like a CEO observing an employee, not like a man looking for mistakes, but like someone who had just found something he hadn't realized he'd been missing, and wasn't sure what to do with it. Naomi didn't see any of that. By the time she stepped through the swinging kitchen doors, the warmth of the dining room vanished, replaced by heat, noise, and tension that didn't bother pretending to be polite. The kitchen was alive, orders being shouted, pans clanging, steam rising. But underneath it, something else simmered. Eyes. On her. You just signed your own termination papers, Sarah muttered as Naomi passed, not even bothering to lower her voice. Naomi kept walking. She placed the order ticket down with the line cook. Ribeye? Medium rare? Table 17. For a split second, everything paused. The cook looked up slowly. You serious? Naomi met his eyes. That's the order. He glanced toward the dining room, then back at her. You better hope that comes out perfect. Naomi gave a small nod. Then make it perfect. She turned before anyone could respond, but she didn't make it far. Naomi. Gerald's voice cut through everything. Sharp, cold, final. She stopped. For a second, she considered pretending she didn't hear him. Just keep moving. Keep working. Let the shift swallow the moment. But she knew better. She turned. Gerald stood near the prep station, arms crossed, his face tight with something that wasn't just fear anymore. It was frustration. And beneath that, resentment. Office. Now. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The kitchen fell just quiet enough for everyone to hear. Naomi walked past him without a word, pushing through the door into the narrow hallway that led to the back office. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The air smelled faintly of cleaning chemicals and something stale. Gerald followed, closing the door behind them with a soft but deliberate click. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then he turned to her. "What exactly do you think you're doing?" Naomi leaned back slightly against the desk, her arms relaxed at her sides. "I'm serving a table." "Don't do that," Gerald snapped. "Don't play dumb with me." "I'm not," she said quietly. He let out a harsh breath, pacing once across the small room. "That man out there," he pointed toward the dining room. "He can shut this place down. He can fire me. He can fire you. He can fire everyone in that kitchen without even raising his voice." Naomi listened. She didn't interrupt, didn't argue, because she'd heard versions of this speech before. Different jobs, different managers. Same message. Power belongs to someone else. You survive by staying small. "And you," Gerald continued, his voice tightening, "you walk up to him like he's just another guy off the street." Naomi looked at him, her expression calm but steady. "He is just another guy," she said. Gerald laughed once, sharp and humorless. "No," he said, "he's not. And you need to understand that." Naomi tilted her head slightly. "Why?" "Because people like him don't play fair," Gerald shot back. "They test you. They look for mistakes. And when they find them," he snapped his fingers, "you're done." Naomi felt something shift in her chest. Not fear, not yet. Something heavier. "Then I guess I won't make mistakes," she said. Gerald stared at her like she'd missed the point entirely. "That's not how this works," he said, slower now, like he was explaining something to a child. "You don't get to just decide you're not afraid. You respect the situation. You stay in your place." There it was. Stay in your place. The words hit deeper than he probably intended, because they weren't new. They came with echoes. A classroom where a teacher once told her she should focus on something realistic. A landlord who looked her up and down before saying, "You people always struggle with payments." A supervisor at her first job who said, "Just smile more. Don't make people uncomfortable. Stay in your place." Naomi inhaled slowly. When she spoke again, her voice was softer, but steadier. "My place," she said, "is out there, taking care of customers." Gerald shook his head. "No. Your place is doing exactly what you're told. And right now, I'm telling you to step away from that table." Naomi held his gaze. "I can't do that." The silence that followed was thick, dangerous. Gerald's jaw tightened. "Excuse me?" "He's already been waiting," Naomi said. "No one else is going over there. If I walk away, he just sits there. That's not your problem. It is if I'm the one who saw him first." Gerald stepped closer now, lowering his voice. "You think this is about service?" he said. "This is about survival. You don't survive by standing out. You survive by blending in." Naomi looked at him for a long moment. Then she smiled. Not wide, not mocking, just quiet. "I've been blending in my whole life," she said. Something in her tone made Gerald pause. "I did everything right," she continued, her voice still calm. "Kept my head down, worked harder than everyone else, took every shift nobody wanted, smiled when people talked down to me, said thank you when they tipped me $2 on a $100 bill." Her hands stayed at her sides, but there was something behind her words now. Something old. Something earned. And you know what it got me? She said. Gerald didn't answer. Naomi nodded once. Exactly. The room felt smaller, tighter. I'm not trying to stand out, she went on. I'm just not going to pretend he's something he's not. And what is he? Gerald demanded. Naomi met his eyes. A man who's sitting alone in a restaurant, she said, waiting for someone to bring him food. The simplicity of it landed harder than any argument. Gerald exhaled sharply, running a hand over his face. You don't get it, he muttered. Maybe I do, Naomi replied. He looked at her again, something conflicted flickering in his expression. Look, he said finally, his tone shifting slightly, less aggressive now. I'm trying to help you. If this goes bad, they won't blame him. They won't blame the system. They'll blame you. Naomi nodded slowly. I know. And you're still going back out there? She didn't hesitate. Yes. Gerald studied her for a long moment. Then he stepped back, shaking his head. Don't say I didn't warn you. Naomi turned toward the door. Her hand paused on the handle. For a second, just a second, the weight of everything pressed in. The exhaustion, the fear she refused to name, the memory of every time things had gone wrong, and it had all come back to her. You should have known better. You should have stayed quiet. You should have stayed in your place. She closed her eyes briefly, then opened them, and pushed the door open. The dining room felt different when she stepped back in. Brighter, colder, like the world had shifted half an inch and she was the only one who noticed. She picked up the tray with Darius's steak, the plate warm beneath her fingers. The scent of seared meat and butter rose into the air. Perfect. The cook had done his job. Now it was her turn. As she walked toward table 17 again, the room quieted. Not completely, but enough. Enough for her to feel it. Enough for her to know that whatever happened next, everyone would remember it. Naomi reached the table, set the plate down carefully. Ribeye, she said. Medium rare. Darius looked at the steak, then back at her, and for the first time, there was something in his eyes that hadn't been there before. Not calculation, not distance, something closer to interest. You came back, he said again. Naomi gave a small shrug. I told you I would. But this time, she could feel it. This wasn't just another table anymore. And whatever line she had just crossed, there was no going back. Naomi didn't step away right after setting the plate down. Not because she forgot how to do her job, but because something in the moment held her there. Quiet, steady, unfamiliar. Darius Cole picked up his knife and fork with the kind of precision that looked almost mechanical. Clean movements, no wasted motion. He cut into the steak. The blade slid through easily. Perfect medium rare. He took a bite. Naomi watched without meaning to, not waiting for approval, not waiting for a reaction. Just watching. Because for all the tension in the room, all the fear surrounding this table, at the end of it, it was still just food, still just a person taking a bite of dinner. Darius chewed slowly, swallowed, then looked up at her. It's good, he said. Simple, flat, but real. Naomi gave a small nod. Glad to hear it. She should have left then. That was the normal rhythm. Drop the food, step away, give space. But she didn't, because something in his expression, something quiet, almost hidden, didn't match the man everyone was afraid of. It wasn't anger, it wasn't judgment, it was distance. The kind that didn't come from power, the kind that came from being alone for too long. You want anything else? she asked. He studied her again, not like before, not searching for weakness, searching for something else. Why are you still standing here? He asked. The question wasn't sharp. It wasn't meant to cut. But it landed. Naomi blinked once, caught slightly off guard. Then she shrugged lightly. Making sure everything's all right, she said. You already did that. Doesn't mean I can't double-check. A pause. The noise of the restaurant filled the space between them. Silverware, laughter, the low hum of conversations that had nothing to do with either of them. Darius glanced around the room briefly, then back at her. Everyone else left, he said. Naomi followed his gaze. It was true, not just physically, emotionally. The servers who passed nearby avoided eye contact. The manager stood far enough away to pretend he wasn't watching. Even Marcus had disappeared into the kitchen again. They're busy, Naomi said simply. Darius let out a quiet breath through his nose. That's one way to describe it. She didn't respond, because she wasn't here to defend anyone. She wasn't here to explain fear. She was just here to do her job. He picked up his fork again, taking another bite. Then, without looking up, he said, "Sit down." Naomi froze. Not visibly, not enough for anyone else to notice, but inside. Something paused. "I'm working," she said carefully. "They can wait." His tone wasn't harsh, but it wasn't a suggestion either. Naomi glanced toward the kitchen instinctively. Gerald was there. Watching. Tense. Marcus stood beside him, shaking his head slightly, like he was already preparing for the worst. Every instinct Naomi had told her to say no, to walk away, to keep the line intact. But something else spoke louder, something quieter. You don't treat him differently. She pulled the chair out slowly and sat. The moment she did, the air shifted, not just at the table, in the entire room, like a ripple no one could stop. Darius didn't say anything for a few seconds. He just looked at her. Really looked. Up close, the details were clearer. The faint tension in his jaw. The lines at the corners of his eyes that didn't belong to a man his age. The exhaustion that money couldn't hide. "How long have you been doing this?" he asked. "Serving?" Naomi said. He nodded. 12 years, she replied. "Same place?" She shook her head. "Different places, same work." "Why?" The question was direct, not curious, not polite, just real. Naomi leaned back slightly in her chair. "Because it pays," she said. "That's not a reason," he replied. "It is when you need it to." He looked at her again, sharper now. "Most people leave after a few years," he said. "Find something else." Naomi gave a small smile. "Most people have something else to find." The words settled between them, heavy, honest. Darius set his fork down. "You don't," he said. It wasn't a question. Naomi met his eyes. "I'm working on it," she said quietly. Another pause. The kind that didn't feel empty. The kind that felt like something was being understood without being said. Darius leaned back in his chair. "For someone who's just working," he said, "you don't seem in a hurry to get away from this table." Naomi tilted her head slightly. "You asked me to sit. You could have said no." She thought about that. About all the times she had said yes when she wanted to say no. All the times she had stayed quiet when she should have spoken. All the times she had made herself smaller, just to keep things easy. "I could have," she admitted. "But you didn't." Naomi looked at him steadily. "You looked like you needed someone to talk to," she said. The words slipped out before she could soften them, or filter them, or take them back. For a second, she thought she'd gone too far. The line. She had crossed it. Darius didn't move, didn't react the way she expected. He didn't get angry, didn't shut her down. He just paused, then let out a quiet breath. "I didn't come here to talk," he said. Naomi nodded once. "I know." "Then why are you still here?" She gave a small shrug. "Because sometimes people don't come for what they say they come for." The silence that followed was different. Not tense, not uncomfortable, just open. Darius picked up his glass, taking a slow sip of water. No ice. Just like he asked. "You're observant," he said. "I pay attention," Naomi replied. "That's dangerous." She smiled faintly. "So I've been told?" Something shifted in his expression again. That same flicker from earlier, but stronger now, more visible. "You're not afraid of me," he said. Naomi didn't answer right away. She thought about it. About fear. About what it felt like. About what it cost. "I've been afraid of things that mattered," she said finally. "And you don't matter?" The question could have been insulting, but it wasn't. It was honest. Naomi met his gaze. "You're not the worst thing I've had to deal with," she said. For a second, just a second, something broke through. Not completely, but enough. Darius leaned back slightly, studying her like she had just said something no one else ever had. Around them, the restaurant continued moving, but at table 17, time felt slower, quieter, like something was unfolding that no one else could quite see. Naomi stood up gently. "I should get back to work," she said. He didn't stop her this time, didn't ask her to stay. But his eyes followed her as she stepped away. And this time, there was no mistaking it. He wasn't just noticing her, he was remembering her. Because for the first time in a long time, someone hadn't treated him like power, or money, or danger. She had treated him like a man, and somehow, that mattered more than anything else he had. The rest of the night passed like a slow exhale. Darius finished his steak without another word. No complaints, no sudden outburst, no quiet firing of anyone on the floor. Just ate, paid, left. And the second the glass door closed behind him, the entire restaurant came back to life. Voices rose. Laughter returned, a little too loud, a little too forced. Plates clattered. Someone in the kitchen actually cheered. Marcus appeared beside Naomi like he had been waiting for permission to breathe again. "What did he say to you?" he asked immediately. Naomi was wiping down table 9, moving slow, steady. "He ate dinner." "Don't do that," Marcus snapped. "Don't make it sound normal. That wasn't normal." Naomi glanced at him. "It was for me." Marcus stared at her like she had just said something impossible. "You sat down with him," he said. "Do you understand how crazy that is?" "He asked me to." "And you said yes." Naomi shrugged lightly. "I was already there." Marcus let out a long breath, shaking his head. "You're either the bravest person I've ever met, or the dumbest." Naomi smiled faintly. "Probably both." Across the room, Gerald was on the phone, pacing, his voice low but urgent. Every now and then, his eyes flicked toward Naomi like she was a problem he hadn't figured out how to fix. Naomi ignored it, because for the first time that night, She felt calm. Not because nothing had happened, but because something had. Something she didn't fully understand yet. 3 days passed. 3 long shifts. 3 nights of the same routine. The same exhaustion settling into her bones. The same late bus rides through cold streets. The same quiet apartment waiting for her at the end of it all. Nothing changed. Until it did. It was just past 7 p.m. when the front door opened again. The hostess looked up. Froze. And just like that, the room shifted. Again. Naomi felt it before she saw it. That same pressure in the air. That same quiet ripple moving through the staff. She turned slowly. And there he was. Same table. Same suit. Same stillness. Darius Cole had come back. A wave of panic spread across the floor like a silent signal. Marcus dropped the tray he was holding onto the service station with a soft thud. "You've got to be kidding me," he muttered. Sarah immediately disappeared into the back. Gerald walked out of the kitchen, saw the table, and physically stopped mid-step like he'd hit an invisible wall. "No," he whispered. "Not again." The hostess stood frozen, menu in hand, unsure what to do. Naomi watched it all. The same fear, the same avoidance, the same invisible line drawn around table 17, and without thinking, she picked up a water pitcher. "Naomi?" Marcus started, but she was already moving, again. Each step felt familiar now, not easier, just clearer. When she reached the table, Darius looked up almost immediately, like he had been expecting her. "Good evening," Naomi said, her voice steady. "Water? No ice?" For the first time, a hint of something moved at the corner of his mouth. "You remember. It's my job." She poured the water, the soft sound of liquid filling the glass, cutting through the silence around them. "You're back," she added. "I am." Naomi set the pitcher down. "Same order?" Darius shook his head slightly. "No." She waited. "The salmon," he said. "And I want you to tell the kitchen it's for me." Naomi blinked once. "That feels like a setup." His eyes held hers. "It's an observation." She studied him for a moment, then nodded. "All right." She turned to leave. "Naomi." She stopped again. There was something different in his voice this time. Less controlled. More intentional. "Yes?" "Tell me something," he said. She waited. "Why did you come back to my table that night?" he asked. "When everyone else didn't." Naomi didn't answer right away, because she hadn't really thought about it. Not in words, not in reasons, just instinct. Finally, she said, "Because you were there." "That's not an answer." "It is for me." Darius leaned back slightly, watching her like he was trying to understand something deeper than the words themselves. "You didn't know who I was," he said. "No." "And now you do." Naomi nodded. "A little. And you're still here." She met his gaze. "I said I'd take care of you tonight." The words landed differently this time. He could hear it. The consistency. The lack of change. Most people adjusted once they knew. Shifted. Softened. Overcompensated. Naomi hadn't. And that was new. "All right," he said quietly. Naomi gave a small nod and walked away. The kitchen exploded the moment she stepped inside. "He's back?" someone asked. "Are you serious? What did he order?" Naomi placed the ticket down. "Salmon. And he knows we know." The head chef went pale. "Oh no," he muttered. "Oh no, no, no." Within seconds, the entire energy of the kitchen changed. Movements sharpened, voices lowered. Every step became precise. The salmon wasn't just food anymore. It was a test. Naomi leaned against the counter for a moment, watching it unfold. Butter melted. Herbs were measured carefully. The fish was handled like something fragile, something expensive, something that could ruin careers if done wrong. All of this because of one man sitting at one table. Naomi exhaled slowly. "Just cook it right," she said. The chef didn't even look at her. "We are." When she brought the plate out, it looked perfect. Golden crust, clean presentation, steam rising in soft curls. Darius glanced at it, then at her. "They took their time," he said. "They wanted to get it right." He picked up his fork, cutting into the fish, took a bite, chewed, swallowed, then set the fork down. "It's excellent," he said. Naomi nodded. "Good." He looked at her again. "But it's different." "How?" "Better," he said. "But not because of skill." Naomi frowned slightly. "Because of pressure." The word sat between them. Heavy. True. He leaned back in his chair. "They're not cooking for a customer," he said. "They're cooking for a consequence." Naomi didn't argue, because she had seen it, felt it. The difference between doing something well and doing it out of fear. "Does that matter?" she asked. Darius looked at her for a long moment. "Yes," he said. "It matters more than anything." Naomi stood there, quiet, because she understood that, more than he probably expected. He picked up his fork again. "You're the only one who hasn't changed," he said. Naomi gave a small shrug. "I don't see a reason to." Darius's eyes stayed on her. "That might be the most dangerous thing about you." She smiled faintly. "Or the simplest." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Naomi stepped back. "I'll let you eat." This time, when she walked away, she could feel it. Not just the fear from the staff, not just the tension in the room. Something else. Something building. Because this wasn't just a one-time moment anymore. He had come back. And something in that choice, something in the way he kept watching her, meant this wasn't over, not even close. By the end of the week, Table 17 had a rhythm, not a comfortable one, not a normal one, but a rhythm. Darius Cole came in every night. Same time, same table, same quiet presence that shifted the entire restaurant the moment he walked through the door. And every night, Naomi walked up to him. No hesitation, no performance. Just consistency. The rest of the staff never got used to it. If anything, it got worse. "Why does he keep coming back?" Sarah whispered one night, folding napkins too tightly. Marcus shook his head. "He's building something. I don't know what, but people like him don't do anything without a reason." Naomi heard them, but she didn't join in. Because she didn't need a reason. He came. She served. That was it. Or at least, that's what she told herself. The conversations started small. A question about the menu, a comment about the city, short, direct, controlled. But over time, they stretched, a few seconds longer, a few words deeper. "You're not from here," he said one night. Naomi set down his glass. "I've been here long enough." "That's not what I asked." She smiled slightly. "No, I'm not." "Where?" "Detroit." "Why Chicago?" "Work." He studied her for a moment. That's a pattern with you. What is? Simple answers. Naomi shrugged. They usually get the job done. He didn't push further, but he didn't forget either. On the 8th night, it shifted again. Not at the table, in the shadows around it. Naomi noticed Gerald more, watching. Not just nervous now, calculating. There was something in the way he moved, quieter, sharper, like he had made a decision he hadn't shared with anyone else. That same night, Naomi caught him standing near the office, speaking low into his phone. Yes, I'm telling you, it's inappropriate, he whispered. Extended conversations, personal engagement, no boundaries. Naomi slowed as she passed. I don't care what he says. This is a liability, Gerald continued. If this gets out, it reflects on the entire company. Naomi kept walking, but something cold slid into her chest. Not fear, recognition. She had seen this before. Not the exact situation, but the pattern. Someone steps out of line. Someone gets uncomfortable, and suddenly, it becomes a problem that needs to be reported. That night, when she approached table 17, Darius looked up immediately. You're distracted, he said. Naomi paused, then set down his water. No more than usual. He didn't buy it. You've been somewhere else all evening, he said. Naomi met his gaze. For a second, she considered brushing it off, but something about him, the way he asked, didn't feel like interrogation. It felt like observation. I think your presence is making people nervous, she said finally. That's not new. No, she replied. But it's different now. How? Naomi hesitated. Because now it involves me. That landed. He leaned back slightly. And that concerns you. Naomi gave a small shrug. I've been blamed for less. Darius's eyes narrowed slightly. Who's blaming you? No one yet, she said. But it's coming. The silence stretched. Not tense, but aware. Like both of them understood something was building. You could step away, he said. The words were simple, but they carried weight. An exit. A way out. Naomi shook her head. No. Why not? Because that would be easier. Because that would protect her. Because that would keep everything small and safe and manageable. Instead, she said, because nothing changes if I do. Darius watched her closely. And what exactly are you trying to change? Naomi smiled faintly. I'm just trying to do my job. He didn't believe that. She knew he didn't. But he didn't push. Not yet. 2 days later, everything cracked. It started with an email. Naomi didn't see it at first. Her phone buzzed while she was on the bus, half asleep after a double shift, her head leaning against the cold window as the city slid past in gray blur. She blinked, pulled the phone from her pocket, and squinted at the screen. Subject line, mandatory corporate meeting, attendance required. Her stomach tightened. She opened it. Callaway Hospitality Group Headquarters, 3 p.m. Today, attendance required no explanation, no context, just a summons. Naomi read it twice, then a third time. Her fingers felt cold. She called the restaurant. Marcus picked up. Tell me you got this too, she said. What? Corporate meeting. Today. Headquarters. A pause, then, oh no! What? Naomi. Nobody gets called to headquarters. Her chest tightened. What do you mean, nobody? I mean nobody, Marcus said. Not servers, not people like us. That's management-level stuff. Silence stretched between them. Then he added, quieter, "This is bad." Naomi swallowed. "I didn't do anything." "It doesn't matter," Marcus said. "You've been sitting with him, talking to him. People notice that." Naomi closed her eyes briefly. "And Gerald?" Another pause. "I heard him on the phone a few nights ago," Marcus said. "Talking about inappropriate interactions." The words hit like something solid. Inappropriate. Liability. Problem. Naomi leaned her head back against the bus window. The city outside blurred into motion again. "So what happens now?" she asked. Marcus didn't answer right away. Then, "You either get promoted," he said slowly, "or you get fired." 3 hours later, Naomi stood in front of a glass building that didn't feel real. It rose into the sky like something out of another world. Steel, glass, money. Everything about it said the same thing. You don't belong here. She adjusted her jacket. The only one she owned that looked even remotely professional. It didn't quite fit right, but it would have to do. Inside, the lobby was silent. Not quiet like the restaurant. Controlled quiet. The kind that made every step sound louder than it should. A receptionist looked up. "Name?" "Naomi Carter." The woman typed something, then nodded. 14th floor. Naomi stepped into the elevator. As the doors closed, she caught her reflection in the mirrored wall. Same face, same tired eyes. Same woman who had been carrying plates just hours ago. But somehow, everything felt different. The elevator moved smoothly. Too smoothly. Like it wasn't supposed to carry people like her. When the doors opened, the air felt colder, sharper, more precise. A woman in a tailored suit approached immediately. "Naomi Carter?" "Yes." "Follow me." No smile, no warmth, just direction. They walked down a long hallway lined with glass offices where people spoke in quiet, controlled tones. Everyone looked like they belonged. Everyone except her. They stopped at a large conference room. "Wait here," the woman said. Then she left. Naomi stepped inside. The room was massive. Long table, leather chairs, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. She sat at the far end, hands folded, back straight, waiting. Her heart beat louder than anything else in the room. This was it. Whatever had been building, whatever line she had crossed, it had led here. The door opened. Naomi looked up. And everything inside her stilled, because the man who walked in was not the same man who sat at table 17. The version of Darius Cole standing in the doorway didn't carry quiet. He carried authority. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It lived in the way he held himself, the way the room seemed to adjust around him, the way the people who followed behind him moved just half a step slower, like gravity worked differently in his presence. 3 executives walked in after him, all tailored suits, all sharp expressions, all the kind of people who had never had to wonder if they belonged in a room like this. Naomi felt it immediately. The distance. At table 17, he had been a man sitting alone. Here, he was the center of everything. "Miss Carter," he said. His voice was different, controlled, professional. There was no trace of the quiet exhaustion she had seen under the restaurant lights. "Thank you for coming." Naomi stood up slowly. Not because anyone told her to, because something in the room demanded it. "You asked me to," she said. His eyes flickered for just a second. Then it was gone. He gestured toward the chair. Please, sit. Naomi sat. But she didn't relax. Because now, she understood. This wasn't a conversation. This was a test. The executives took their places around the table. One of them, a woman with sharp features and a colder smile, opened a leather folder. Naomi Carter, she said, employed at our downtown Chicago location for 3 months. Naomi nodded once. The woman continued. We've received reports regarding your conduct during recent shifts. There it was. Naomi felt it settle into place. Not surprise, not panic. Just confirmation. What kind of reports? She asked. Extended interactions with executive leadership, the woman replied. Unprofessional familiarity. Deviation from standard service behavior. Naomi's fingers tightened slightly in her lap. I served a customer, she said. A customer who happens to be the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, one of the men added. Naomi glanced at Darius. He hadn't moved, hadn't interrupted, just watched, like he was waiting to see what she would do. So I should have treated him differently? She asked. No one answered right away, because that was the question, the real one. The woman leaned forward slightly. There are expectations when interacting with leadership, she said. Boundaries, professional distance. Naomi nodded slowly. I was professional, she said. You sat at his table. He asked me to, and you said yes. Naomi met her gaze. Yes. Silence. The kind that weighed, pressed, waited. Do you understand how that could be perceived? The man asked. Naomi exhaled quietly. I think I understand how it is being perceived, she said. And how is that? She hesitated. Not because she didn't know the answer, because she did. Like I crossed a line I wasn't supposed to cross, she said. And did you? Naomi looked at Darius, then back at them. I treated him like a human being, she said. The words landed differently in this room. Not simple, not harmless, challenging. The woman's expression tightened slightly. This isn't about humanity, she said. This is about structure. Naomi shook her head. Maybe that's the problem. The room shifted, subtle, but real. Darius's eyes sharpened. What do you mean? He asked. His voice was quieter now, closer to the one from table 17. Naomi felt it. That shift, that opening. She leaned forward slightly. I mean, everyone was so busy being afraid of you, she said. They forgot how to do their jobs. No one spoke. No one moved. They weren't thinking about the customer, she continued. They were thinking about not messing up, not getting fired, not standing out. She glanced at the executives. And when people work like that, they stop being honest. The woman frowned. That's speculation. No, Naomi said. That's experience. She turned back to Darius. You asked me why I wasn't nervous, she said. It's because I've already worked in places where fear runs everything. Her voice softened, but didn't weaken. People don't do better when they're scared, she said. They just try not to get noticed. The words hung there, heavy, uncomfortable, true. Darius leaned back slowly in his chair. For the first time since he entered the room, he looked like the man from the restaurant again. Tired, thinking, not just evaluating, understanding. You think that's what I've built? He asked. Naomi didn't answer immediately, because this wasn't a question you rushed. Finally, she said, I think you built something that works. A pause. And something that's breaking at the same time. The executives shifted in their seats. One of them opened his mouth, But Darius raised a hand. And just like that, silence. He looked at Naomi again. Longer this time. Deeper. Like he wasn't just hearing her. He was measuring something. Not her words. Her truth. You didn't know who I was, he said. No. And now you do. Yes. And you're still saying this. Naomi nodded. You asked me to be honest. The room felt different now. Not controlled. Not predictable. Something had cracked. Something real had slipped through. Darius stood up slowly and walked to the window. The city stretched out below them, cold, gray, endless. For a moment, he said nothing. Then, my wife died 4 years ago, he said quietly. The words hit the room like something fragile being dropped. No one moved. No one interrupted. Car accident, he continued. One day she was there. The next day she wasn't. Naomi felt her chest tighten. This wasn't part of the meeting. This wasn't corporate. This was something else. I had a 3-year-old daughter at home, so, he said, and a company that needed to keep running. He turned slightly. Not fully. Just enough. So I controlled everything I could, he said. Every number, every decision, every person. His voice didn't rise, didn't break. But something underneath it did. And somewhere in that process, he said, I stopped knowing how to be anything else. The silence that followed was absolute. Naomi didn't speak, didn't try to fix it, because some truths didn't need answers. They just needed to be heard. Darius turned back to face her. You're the first person in a long time, he said, who didn't treat me like a problem to avoid or a power to impress. Naomi held his gaze. I treated you like a person, she said. Yes, he replied. Another pause, then, that's exactly why you're here. The room shifted again, but this time, it wasn't fear. It was something else entirely. Because whatever Naomi thought this meeting was, it wasn't that anymore. Not even close. Naomi sat very still, not because she was frozen, but because everything inside her had shifted too fast for her body to catch up. The room didn't feel like a courtroom anymore. It didn't feel like a trap. It felt like something else entirely. Something bigger. Something dangerous in a different way. Darius walked back to the table and took his seat at the head. But now the space between them felt different. Not a hierarchy. Not a distance. A line that had just been crossed. For the past 2 weeks, he said, his voice calm but carrying weight, I've been observing my own company. One of the executives shifted. Sir, with respect, Darius didn't even look at him. And what I saw, he continued, was a system that functions on fear. The words landed like a quiet explosion. Employees who are more concerned with avoiding mistakes than doing their jobs, he said. Managers who protect numbers instead of people. A culture that rewards silence instead of honesty. Naomi felt it. Every word. Because she had lived it. Darius turned his attention fully to her now. You didn't participate in that, he said. Naomi didn't respond. She didn't know how to. Because this wasn't praise. It was something else. You didn't adjust your behavior, he went on. You didn't try to impress me. You didn't try to protect yourself. A small pause. You just told the truth. The room felt tight. The executives looked uncomfortable now. Not defensive. Not argumentative. Threatened. That's not a qualification, one of them said sharply. Honesty doesn't run a corporation. Darius turned his head slowly. No, he said, but the lack of it destroys one. Silence again. Heavy. Final. He reached into the folder in front of him and pulled out a single sheet of paper, placed it on the table, and slid it toward Naomi. "I'm creating a new position," he said. Naomi looked down. Her name, printed cleanly across the top. Director of Cultural Development and Employee Advocacy. Her breath caught. No. This didn't make sense. "I want you to take it," Darius said. The words didn't register at first. They just existed, hanging in the air, waiting. Naomi blinked. "I think you're talking to the wrong person," she said slowly. "I'm not. I'm a waitress." Exactly. The word hit harder than anything else in the room. Naomi shook her head slightly, almost instinctively. "No," she said. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly." "No, you don't," she insisted, her voice tightening just enough to betray the shift inside her. "I don't have a degree. I don't have experience. I don't even know how this place works beyond a dining room and a kitchen." "You understand how it feels to work here," Darius replied. "That's not enough. It's the most important part." Naomi let out a quiet, disbelieving breath. "This is a mistake." Across the table, one of the executives nodded. "Finally, something we agree on." Darius didn't acknowledge him. "You said something earlier," he said, his eyes still on Naomi, "that people stop being honest when they're afraid." Naomi swallowed. "I meant that." "I know you did," he said, "and I need someone in this company who isn't afraid to tell me when I'm wrong." Naomi laughed once, soft, almost bitter. "That sounds good in theory." "It's not theory." "It is when you're sitting at the top," she said. "People don't stay honest around power. They adapt. They survive." Darius leaned forward slightly. "Then I need someone who doesn't." The room went still again. Naomi looked at him, really looked at him. This wasn't a man making a casual decision. This wasn't a test anymore. This was real. "You don't know me," she said quietly. "I know enough. You know how I act in a restaurant. I know how you act when it would be easier not to." That landed deeper than she expected. Naomi looked down at the paper again. $90,000. The number sat there like something unreal. She made $22,000 last year, working 3 jobs, living in an apartment that barely held together, counting every dollar, every meal, every late fee. Her chest tightened. "You're offering me a life I've never even imagined," she said. "I'm offering you a job," Darius corrected. "No," Naomi said, looking up again. "You're offering me everything changing at once." Silence. The executives shifted again, restless now. "This is irresponsible," one of them said. "You're bypassing every structure we have in place." "Those structures are the problem," Darius replied. "You can't just bring someone in from the floor and—" "I can," he said. And just like that, it was settled. Not by volume, not by argument, by certainty. Naomi felt her pulse in her throat now, loud, heavy. "What happens when I fail?" she asked. Darius didn't hesitate. "You will," he said. The honesty caught her off guard. "But you won't fail because you're unqualified," he continued. "You'll fail because this system will fight you, because people in this room will resist you, because change always breaks something before it builds anything." Naomi held his gaze. "And you'll still back me?" "Yes." Another pause. "And when they turn on me?" she asked. "They will. And you'll still back me?" Darius didn't look away. "Yes." The room felt smaller, tighter, more real. Naomi leaned back slowly in her chair. Her mind was racing now. Every instinct she had told her to say no. This wasn't her world. This wasn't her place. This wasn't safe. But another voice, quieter, older, stronger, spoke underneath it all. When will you ever get this chance again? She thought about the apartment, the bills, the years of being invisible, the nights she went to sleep wondering if anything she did actually mattered. And then, she thought about table 17, about the moment she chose not to walk away. Naomi exhaled slowly. I need time, she said. Darius nodded once. 24 hours. That's not a lot. It's enough. She looked down at the paper one more time, then back at him. And if I say no? Darius's expression didn't change. Then you go back to your life, he said. And I keep looking for someone else. Simple. Clean. Honest. Naomi stood up slowly. The room stood with her, not physically, but in attention, in awareness, because whatever she chose next would matter, more than anyone in that room was ready to admit. I'll think about it, she said. Darius nodded. That's all I'm asking. Naomi turned and walked toward the door. Each step felt heavier than the last. Not because she was afraid, because she knew, no matter what she decided, there was no going back to who she was before this moment. And for the first time in her life, that thought didn't just scare her, it pulled her forward. Chicago felt different that night. The cold air, hit sharper as Naomi stepped out of the glass building, like the city itself was reminding her where she came from. Neon lights flickered across wet pavement. A bus roared past, spraying mist into the air. Somewhere down the block, a siren cut through the night. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. Naomi walked without direction at first, her heels tapping against concrete, echoing louder than usual in her ears. The envelope in her hand felt heavier than it should have, not because of paper, because of what it meant. She passed a storefront window and caught her reflection. Same coat, same tired eyes, same woman who had counted coins just that morning before buying coffee. And yet, not the same. She stopped, just for a second, and for the first time in years, she allowed herself to ask a question she had never dared to before. What if I say yes? The thought didn't feel like a dream. It felt like a risk, a dangerous one. The apartment was quiet when she got back. Too quiet. The kind of silence that made every small sound feel amplified. The hum of the refrigerator, the faint drip from the kitchen faucet she never quite managed to fix. Naomi dropped her keys on the counter and sat on the edge of her bed, still holding the envelope. She didn't open it again. She didn't need to. $90,000. Benefits. A seat at a table she had never been allowed near. She let out a slow breath. I'm not ready for this, she whispered. And immediately, another voice answered back inside her. You were never ready for anything you survived either. That hit harder than anything Darius had said. Naomi closed her eyes. Memories came fast. Being 12 years old, standing in a grocery store while a cashier watched her too closely. Being 22, getting passed over for a promotion while someone less experienced got it instead. Being 30, still explaining herself, still proving she belonged, still shrinking just enough to make other people comfortable. She opened her eyes again. I'm tired, she said out loud. Not physically, something deeper. Tired of surviving. Tired of staying small. Her phone buzzed on the counter. Marcus. She stared at it for a moment before answering. You alive? He asked. Barely. They didn't fire you? No. A pause. That's worse, he said. Naomi almost laughed. You have no idea. What happened? She hesitated, then said it. He offered me a job. Silence, and then, a job like another restaurant? No. Another pause. Naomi. Yeah. You sound like you just saw a ghost. Feels like I did. What kind of job? She swallowed. Corporate. The word felt foreign in her mouth. Corporate where? At his company. Marcus didn't speak for a full 5 seconds. Then, you're joking. I'm not. Naomi. I'm not. He exhaled hard. What kind of position? She closed her eyes. Director of Cultural Development. Silence again. Longer this time. Say that again. She repeated it, slower, clearer. When she finished, Marcus let out a low whistle. That's not a job, he said. That's a setup. I know. No, you don't understand, he said quickly. People don't just get pulled off the floor and dropped into corporate. Not like that. Not at that level. I know. So what's the catch? Naomi stared at the wall. There isn't one, she said quietly. That's the catch. She didn't argue, because part of her agreed. You gonna take it? Marcus asked. Naomi looked down at her hands. I don't know. You do know. She didn't answer, because he was right. The next morning came too fast. Gray sky, cold windows, the kind of Chicago morning that made everything feel heavier than it needed to be. Naomi stood in front of her mirror, staring at herself. She had dressed for work, same uniform, same routine, same life. But something felt off, like she was putting on clothes that no longer fit. She grabbed her bag, stopped, turned back, and picked up the envelope, just in case. The restaurant felt louder than usual, not because it was busier, because people were talking. Whispers followed her the second she walked in. Eyes lingered too long. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Naomi didn't need to ask. They knew, or at least, they thought they knew. Marcus leaned against the counter, arms crossed. You look like someone about to either win the lottery or walk into a storm, he said. Maybe both. You decided? Not yet. He studied her. You're lying. She didn't deny it. Before he could say anything else, Gerald's voice cut through the room. Naomi. She turned. The manager stood near the kitchen entrance, his expression tight, controlled. Office, he said. Not a request. Naomi felt the shift instantly. This wasn't about last night. This was something else. She followed him. The office door closed behind them with a soft click. Gerald didn't sit, didn't offer her a seat. He just stared. I got a call, he said. Naomi didn't respond. From corporate. Her chest tightened slightly. And? She asked. They're asking questions, he said. About you. Of course they were. What kind of questions? About your behavior, your interactions with Mr. Cole, how much time you spent at his table, what you talked about. Naomi felt it now. The shift. The turn. They're building something, Gerald said quietly. Naomi met his eyes. Or breaking something, she replied. Gerald's jaw tightened. You think this is a game? No. Because it's not, he snapped. People don't survive situations like this, not people like you. There it was. Not loud, not obvious, but clear. Naomi held his gaze. What does that mean? He didn't answer directly. They'll chew you up, he said. And when they're done, you won't have this job to come back to. Naomi took a slow breath. I didn't ask for this. That doesn't matter, Gerald said. You stepped into it. Silence. Heavy. Real. You should walk away, he added. Naomi almost smiled. From what? From whatever you think this is. She looked at him. Really looked at him. And for the first time, she saw it. Not authority, not control, fear. You're not trying to protect me, she said softly. Gerald didn't respond. You're trying to protect this, she continued, gesturing around the office. This system, this way things work. His expression hardened. You don't understand how this world operates. No, Naomi said, then took a small step forward. But I understand how people get treated in it. That landed. For a second. Just a second. Gerald didn't have a response. Naomi turned toward the door. Be careful, he said behind her. She paused, not turning back. I've been careful my whole life, she said, then opened the door and walked out. The dining room buzzed as she stepped back in. But Naomi didn't feel small anymore. Didn't feel watched. Didn't feel like she needed to shrink. Because now, she understood something she hadn't before. This wasn't just about a job, or money, or opportunity. This was a fight, and she was already in it. Whether she said yes or not. The storm had already started. Naomi felt it the moment she stepped back onto the floor. Not just the noise, not just the whispers. Something deeper. Like the ground under everything she knew had shifted, and everyone else could feel it too. Marcus caught her eye from across the room. He didn't say anything this time, just watched her. Like he was waiting to see which version of her would walk out of that office. The one who survived, or the one who changed things. Naomi picked up a tray and kept working. Because for now, that was the only thing she knew how to do. But it didn't feel the same. Every step felt heavier, every glance sharper, every voice just a little quieter when she passed by. Word had spread. Not the truth, but something close enough to it. She thinks she's special now. I heard she's been talking to corporate. Probably trying to get promoted. She better watch herself. Naomi didn't react, didn't slow down, didn't explain, because she had learned something the hard way a long time ago. People don't always want the truth. They want a version of the story that makes sense to them. And right now, she was the story. Later that night, the rush died down. The lights dimmed slightly. The clatter of dishes softened into a steady rhythm. And then, the door opened. The shift happened instantly. Conversations dipped. Marcus straightened. Gerald froze. Naomi didn't need to look. She already knew. Darius Cole walked in. Same suit, same quiet presence. But something about him felt different tonight. He wasn't scanning the room like before, wasn't measuring, wasn't observing. He walked straight to table 17, like it already belonged to him, and waited. Naomi stood still for half a second, just long enough for doubt to whisper. You could walk away. Let someone else take it. Protect yourself, but then... She remembered the office, the envelope, the way Gerald had looked at her, and the way she had looked back. Naomi picked up a glass, filled it, and walked forward. Good evening, she said. Her voice didn't shake, didn't soften. It was the same voice she had used the first night, the same one that had changed everything. Darius looked up, and this time, he didn't look surprised. "You came back," he said. Naomi set the water down. "You're still a customer." A flicker of something passed through his eyes. Approval. Or maybe relief. "Sit," he said quietly. Naomi hesitated, just for a second. Not because she was afraid, because she understood what it meant. If she sat, she wasn't just a waitress anymore. She was stepping into something else, something bigger, more dangerous, more real. She pulled out the chair and sat. The restaurant disappeared around them, not physically, but emotionally. Like everything outside that table no longer mattered. "You told them," Darius said. It wasn't a question. Naomi met his gaze. "I didn't hide it." "Good." Silence. Heavy. Measured. "You understand what's happening now," he continued. "I'm starting to." "They're going to push back," he said. "Hard." Naomi nodded. "I know." "No," he said softly. "You don't." That stopped her. Darius leaned forward slightly. "My executives built their careers inside a system that rewards control, silence, and fear," he said. "You threaten that just by existing. I didn't ask for this. You accepted it." Naomi held his gaze. "I haven't said yes yet." Darius didn't look away. "But you will." The certainty in his voice wasn't arrogant. It was quiet, steady, like he already knew. Naomi exhaled slowly. "What makes you so sure?" He leaned back. "Because you're not the kind of person who walks away from something that matters." That landed deeper than she expected. Naomi looked down at her hands, then back up. "What if I fail?" she asked. Darius didn't answer right away. "When my wife died," he said finally, "I thought the only way to survive was to control everything." His voice had changed, softer, more human. "I built systems, structures, rules. I made sure nothing could go wrong." He paused. "And I lost everything that mattered anyway." Naomi didn't speak. "I failed," he continued. "Not because I didn't try hard enough, but because I was trying to win the wrong way." The restaurant noise crept back in around them. Forks, glasses, low conversations, life moving forward. "You're going to fail," he said. Naomi blinked. "What?" "You're going to make mistakes. You're going to trust the wrong people. You're going to get pushed, questioned, undermined." He leaned in slightly. "But you won't stop." That wasn't a prediction. It was a recognition. Naomi felt something shift inside her. Fear didn't disappear, but it changed. It stopped being something that held her back and became something that pushed her forward. "You already said yes," Darius added. Naomi frowned. "No, I didn't." He nodded toward the floor. "You walked back out there," he said. "You kept working. You didn't hide. You didn't run." A small pause. "That's your answer." Naomi sat back slowly. He wasn't wrong. She hadn't walked away, hadn't protected herself, hadn't chosen the easy path, because she had never had that luxury. "So what happens now?" she asked. Darius didn't hesitate. "Now we start breaking things." Naomi raised an eyebrow. "That sounds dangerous." "It is." He gestured slightly around the room. "This place, this company, it's built on layers of decisions that were made to protect profit, not people." Naomi nodded. "I've seen it." "Then you know what we're up against." She did. Managers who cut corners, leaders who ignored problems, systems that rewarded silence over honesty. "You can't fix that from the outside," he said. "You have to step into it." Naomi looked around the restaurant. The tired servers, the forced smiles, the quiet frustration hidden behind routine. "I've been inside it my whole life," she said. "Then you know where to start." Silence again. But this time, it felt different. Not heavy, not uncertain. Clear. Naomi stood. Darius didn't stop her. "Tomorrow," she said. He nodded. "Tomorrow." She picked up her tray, turned, and walked back into the restaurant. But this time, she didn't feel like she was just working a shift. She felt like she was stepping into a war. Behind her, Darius watched. Not like a CEO evaluating an employee, not like a man measuring risk, but like someone who had just made the most important decision of his life. And for the first time in a long time, he wasn't alone in it. The next morning didn't feel like a beginning. It felt like impact. Naomi stood in front of the glass building, the same one that had made her feel invisible just days ago. The wind cut through downtown Chicago, sharp and unforgiving, tugging at her coat like it was testing her resolve. Cars rushed past. People moved fast, heads down, coffee in hand. No one noticed her. And somehow, that didn't matter anymore. Because for the first time in her life, Naomi wasn't trying to be noticed. She was here to be heard. She stepped inside. The lobby was exactly as she remembered. Marble floors, quiet footsteps, a receptionist who looked like she belonged in a magazine. Except this time, the receptionist looked at her twice. "Can I help you?" she asked. Naomi met her eyes. "Yes," she said calmly. "Naomi Carter. I'm here to see Mr. Cole." The name changed everything. The receptionist's posture shifted just slightly. One call, one nod. 14th floor. Naomi walked toward the elevators. Her reflection followed her in the mirrored walls. Still the same woman. But now, she didn't look away. The doors opened to a different world. Everything was quiet. Not peaceful, controlled. Glass offices lined the hallway. People in tailored suits spoke in low, precise voices. Every movement looked intentional, every glance calculated. And when Naomi stepped out, every eye turned. Not dramatically, not openly, but enough. She felt it. The questions, the judgments, the disbelief. Who is she? Why is she here? Naomi kept walking, each step steady, each breath controlled. Because she had learned something last night. Fear doesn't disappear. You just decide it doesn't get to lead. Rebecca Thornton was waiting for her. Mid-40s, sharp eyes, no nonsense. She held a tablet in one hand and a coffee in the other. "You're early," Rebecca said. "I didn't want to be late." Rebecca studied her for a second longer than necessary. "Good," she said. "You'll need that mindset here." She handed Naomi a coffee. "Careful, it's strong." Naomi took it. "Thanks." Rebecca turned and started walking. "Come on," she said. "You're already behind." Naomi followed. "Let's skip the corporate tour," Rebecca said, as they moved down the hallway. "You don't need to know where the conference rooms are yet. You need to know who's going to try to break you." Naomi blinked. "That honest, huh?" Rebecca didn't smile. "You wanted honesty. Fair." "They don't like you," Rebecca continued. "I figured. They don't trust you. Also figured. They think you're a liability." Naomi exhaled slowly. "That one I felt." Rebecca finally glanced back at her. Good. That means you're paying attention. They stopped in front of a glass office. Rebecca pushed the door open. This is yours. Naomi stepped inside. Small, simple, but real. A desk, a chair, a window overlooking the city. Her name already printed on a small metal plate. Director of Cultural Development. Naomi stared at it. Didn't touch it. Didn't move, just stood there. You're not imagining it, Rebecca said quietly behind her. Naomi swallowed. I feel like I am. Rebecca stepped inside. Then get used to it, she said, because this is the part where reality starts pushing back. Naomi turned. What does that mean? Rebecca crossed her arms. It means people are going to smile at you while they plan how to make you fail, she said. It means they'll test you, ignore you, undermine you. A pause. And if you let them, they'll win. Naomi nodded slowly. I won't. Rebecca tilted her head. Everyone says that on day one. I'm not everyone. Something in Naomi's voice made Rebecca pause. Really pause. Then, a small, almost invisible smile. Good, Rebecca said. Then let's see how long that lasts. The first meeting started at 9:30. No introductions, no warm welcome. Just a long table filled with executives who had already decided who she was. James Whitaker, COO. Michael Trent, VP of Operations. 3 others Naomi hadn't met yet. Darius sat at the head, calm, unreadable. Let's begin, he said. No build-up, no explanation, just straight into it. Naomi will be leading a full internal review of workplace culture across all locations, he continued. She will have full access to records, staff, and reporting structures. Silence. Then, that's not standard protocol, James said. His voice was smooth, controlled, dismissive. Darius didn't look at him. It is now. Michael leaned back in his chair. With respect, he said, she doesn't have the experience for something like this. Naomi didn't speak, didn't interrupt. She waited. Because she understood something they didn't. This wasn't about qualifications. It was about power. And yet, Darius said evenly, she has something this company currently lacks. Michael's lips pressed into a thin line. And what's that? Darius finally looked at Naomi. Perspective. That word hung in the air. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Real. James scoffed quietly. Perspective doesn't run a company. No, Darius said. But ignoring it destroys one. Silence again. This time, tighter, sharper, more dangerous. Naomi leaned forward, not aggressively, not defensively, just enough to enter the conversation. You're right, she said. Every head turned. I don't have your experience, she continued. I haven't sat in these chairs. I haven't made decisions at this level. She paused. But I've lived with the consequences of those decisions. No one interrupted. I've worked under managers who cut corners, she said. I've seen coworkers quit because no one listened to them. I've watched good people burn out while bad systems stayed in place. She met their eyes, one by one. And I've seen what happens when no one speaks up. The room didn't move, didn't breathe. Because this wasn't how this was supposed to go. You're making assumptions, Michael said finally. Naomi shook her head. I'm making observations. That's not the same thing. It is, she said calmly, when enough people say the same thing and nothing changes. James leaned forward. And what exactly do you plan to change? Naomi didn't hesitate. Everything that doesn't work. A few quiet laughs. Dismissive. Predictable. She didn't react. Because she had expected that. Darius stood. "Then we're done here," he said. The meeting wasn't over. But it was. Because the real conversation had already happened. As people filed out, the tension lingered. Sharp. Unresolved. Rebecca stepped beside Naomi. "You didn't flinch," she said quietly. Naomi looked straight ahead. "I've had worse." Rebecca nodded. "I believe that." Later that day, Naomi sat alone in her office. The city stretched out beyond the glass. Endless. Moving. Unstoppable. Her phone buzzed. A message from Darius. One line. "You handled that better than they expected." Naomi stared at it, then typed back. "So did you." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then came the reply. "This is where it gets harder." Naomi leaned back in her chair, looked out at the city again, and for the first time, she didn't feel like she was trying to catch up to it. She felt like she was finally stepping into it. But down the hall, James Whittaker stood watching through the glass, arms crossed, eyes narrowed, not impressed, not convinced, and definitely not finished. James Whittaker didn't move when the hallway emptied. He stood there, arms folded, watching Naomi through the glass like she was a problem waiting to collapse. Not because he doubted she would fail, because he didn't understand why she hadn't already. People like her didn't last in rooms like this, didn't survive pressure like this, didn't disrupt systems like this. And yet, she was still standing, still calm, still there. James turned away slowly, but the look in his eyes said one thing clearly. This wasn't over. 6 months later, Chicago didn't look different. But everything inside the company did. It started quietly, almost invisibly. Small changes no one outside would notice. Schedules that made sense. Managers who listened instead of controlled. Employees who stopped looking over their shoulders before speaking. It didn't happen all at once. It couldn't. But it happened. Because Naomi didn't stop. Not when they questioned her. Not when they ignored her. Not when they tried to break her. She kept showing up, day after day, meeting after meeting, conversation after conversation, listening, documenting, fixing. And slowly, people started believing. "Turnover is down 30%, Rebecca said, sliding a report across the table. Naomi glanced at it, didn't smile. Not yet. "Customer satisfaction?" "Up 12. Naomi nodded. "And complaints?" Rebecca paused. "Up." Naomi looked up. "That's not a bad thing," Rebecca added quickly. "It means people are finally speaking." Naomi leaned back in her chair. Good. Because silence had always been the real problem. Across the city, in the same restaurant where everything started. Table 17 was still there, but it didn't feel the same. It wasn't quiet anymore, wasn't feared, wasn't avoided. It was just a table. And that meant everything had changed. Marcus stood behind the counter, shaking his head as he watched the dinner rush. "You seeing this?" he said. Jennifer laughed beside him. "I am. No one's hiding. No one's panicking." Marcus glanced around the room. Servers moved with confidence. Managers checked in, not to control, but to support. Customers smiled, stayed longer, came back. "It's working," Marcus said. Jennifer nodded. Yeah, she said softly. It really is. That night, Naomi walked in through the front door, not in uniform, not with a tray, just herself. The noise softened for a second, not out of fear, out of recognition. Marcus spotted her first. Well, look who decided to show up like she owns the place, he said, grinning. Naomi rolled her eyes. I don't own anything. Yeah, Jennifer added. You just changed everything. Naomi didn't answer that, because she knew the truth. She didn't do it alone. She just didn't walk away. Come on, Marcus said. You gotta see something. He led her through the dining room, past familiar faces, past new ones, until they reached Table 17. Naomi stopped. It looked smaller somehow, simpler, less powerful. Funny, right? Marcus said. What? That this is where it all started. Naomi nodded slowly. Yeah. Marcus clapped her on the shoulder. You should sit. Naomi hesitated. Then she did. A moment later, the door opened, and Darius Cole walked in. But this time, no one froze. No one ran. No one whispered. He was just a man walking into a restaurant. He scanned the room, then saw her, and for a brief second, that same look returned. The one from the very first night, but softer now, warmer, human. He walked over. You're late, Naomi said. He raised an eyebrow. You're sitting at my table. She smiled slightly. Not anymore. He pulled out the chair across from her and sat. For a moment, neither of them spoke. They didn't need to, because everything that needed to be said already had been. You did it, he said finally. Naomi shook her head. We did it. Darius leaned back slightly. That's the difference, he said. You still see people, even when you're the one leading them. Naomi looked around the room, at the laughter, at the movement, at the life. I just remembered what it felt like to not matter, she said quietly, and made sure no one else had to feel that way. Darius didn't respond right away, because he knew that was the truth. A small voice cut in. Is that her? Naomi turned. A little girl stood near the table, curious, bright-eyed, one hand gripping the edge of her father's coat. Darius smiled. Naomi, he said softly. This is Sophie. Naomi's chest tightened slightly. Hi, Sophie. Sophie stepped forward slowly, studied her. Then, you're the reason my dad comes home now, she said. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. Naomi blinked, didn't know what to say. So she said the only thing that felt true. He chose that, she said gently. Sophie shook her head. You helped. Then, without warning, she hugged her. Quick, tight, real. Naomi froze for half a second. Then, she hugged her back. Darius watched, didn't interrupt, didn't speak, because in that moment, he understood something he hadn't before. This was what mattered. Not numbers, not power, not control, people, connection, showing up. Later that night, the restaurant buzzed around them. Laughter, clinking glasses, life. Naomi sat back at table 17, the same table that once held fear, now holding something else entirely. Peace. I have something for you, Darius said. He slid an envelope across the table. Naomi looked at it. Didn't touch it. Not yet. What is it? Open it. She did. Slowly. Carefully. And then, she stopped breathing for a second. Chief Culture Officer. The words didn't feel real. Didn't feel possible. Didn't feel like something that belonged to her. But they were there. Clear. Undeniable. Naomi looked up. I don't... Darius cut her off gently. You do. Silence. Heavy. Meaningful. You earned it, he said. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just... true. Naomi swallowed. Looked back at the paper. Then back at him. A year ago, she had been standing in this exact place, holding a tray, being told to stay in her place. Now, she was being asked to redefine it. She closed the envelope, slowly, carefully, then nodded. Yes. The word didn't echo, didn't explode, but it changed everything. And as the night settled, as the city moved on outside, as the restaurant filled with life instead of fear, Naomi Carter sat at table 17, not as someone trying to survive, not as someone trying to prove her worth, but as someone who finally understood it. Because the moment that changed her life wasn't the job, wasn't the money, wasn't the promotion. It was the moment she chose to be kind, when no one was watching. And that was something no one could ever take from her. If this story touched you, leave a comment. Type 1 if you believe kindness still matters. Type 0 if you think the world has forgotten it. And tell me where you're watching from. I read every single comment. If you want more stories like this, real, emotional, life-changing, hit subscribe and stay with us, because the next story might be the one that changes you.